Hello everyone, welcome back to another stream on Fantasy Football Scout. Today, as usual, I'm joined by GIANNI, and today we're going to look through my Game Week 23 score, how poorly my bench boost is getting on, and we're going to look at free hit 34 that I'm currently on. Gianni is also on wildcard 34, so this should be quite interesting. Gianni, how are we keeping?
Yeah, man, very good. Game week 33 hasn't lived up to the billing for many, has it? But when we're recording this on Sunday, there is still all the football to be played is for the double game week players. And we have to remember, as engaged managers, everyone listening and watching this, they're an engaged manager. They've probably got 7, 8, 9, 10 double game week players. There will be a lot of managers in your school or your uni or your work mini leagues that are less engaged, that might be above you this week. They might be on a green arrow, but they might have one or two doublers because they haven't prepared like those that watch Fantasy Football Scout have prepared. So if you're on a bit of a stinker of a game week, just know you probably have way more doublers than loads of your mates that are less engaged. And with that in mind, green arrows probably are still to come. But yeah, it's been a really exciting weekend of football, isn't it? Like seeing Man United losing to Wolves, and Arsenal went big against Ipswich, but Saka came off. Man City won, but Marmoush and De Bruyne didn't get any points. Like as always, there was headlines. And I mean, if you're on Brian and Mbeumo and Visser, Brentford and their attackers just keep smashing it. Like again, we need to talk about Brentford for the run-in, but yeah, loads going on.
Yeah, lots going on, Gianni, and Brian Mbeumo, just straight onto him, he's been really frustrating. Of course, a lot of us looking at a lot of the double game week players, and a lot of people who didn't plan, would you say they've got away with one there, Gianni, or he's a great pick and we are silly not to go there?
We're probably silly not to go there as FPL managers. If we don't own Brian and Mbeumo, the big question should be why. And the reason we don't own him is he hasn't had a plethora of doubles and he hasn't had a brilliant fixture run. And we tend to prioritize fixture runs, right? But when we look at Mbeumo, he is, I'm going to look now as we're recording this, in terms of point scorers this season, I'm guessing he's like third or fourth. No, he's second. Only Mo Salah has more points than Mbeumo this season. He's a 7.9 million midfielder that takes penalties, corners, set pieces, is the most advanced man on the pitch for a team that create a ton of big chances. Why don't we have him? Because he didn't have double game weeks. Like, come on. Like, doesn't have to be about that, but we make the same mistake every season. He's got more points than Palmer, more points than Isak, more points than all the defenders by a country mile. 210 points, only Mo Salah has more. Brian Mbeumo, I'm on wildcard this week, is obviously a complete lock in my wildcard. And I think many on free hit will pick him, although it is Nottingham Forest away. It's a tough entry point. But if not, game week 35, and a lot will have Saka, they'll be worried about Saka not playing in 35 because it's wedged between the two PSG games. Saka to Mbeumo will be a very popular move, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I agree. Saka came off with a little bit of an injury, Gianni. I don't know how you feel about that. A lot of people captain him this week. I don't know where you went with your captaincy, Gianni. I'm currently on Marmoush again. Another fixture to be had. Yeah, so in game week 32, I had a stinker with my triple captain, Gianni. Small red. Game week 33 is not looking much better. We're currently on a bit of a grey arrow. Let me pull up my team quickly while we're on that note. So in front of you, I've got my team for game week 33. Again, quite disappointing so far. We're currently on 40 points, on a little bit of a grey arrow, 280k overall rank currently. Going into this game week, I brought in De Bruyne, Gianni. Last week we did speak about it quite a bit. I took out Ederson after finding out the news about him that he wasn't going to feature. And I cannot say it's worked out even in the slightest. Now, it could still pay off come this second game week. This Martinez fixture versus City, I'm not going to lie, I'm not too hopeful. And De Bruyne getting a lot of minutes in that first fixture, which I was quite happy with. I don't know how that translates into the second fixture, but still quite hopeful. Let me quickly run through the stream for anyone, or the team for anyone that is listening on audio. My two goalkeepers are Raya, Martinez. The five at the back are Munoz, Saliba, Diaz, Konsa, and Byrne. Five in the middle is Saka, Eze, Sarr, De Bruyne, and Gordon. And three up top, Marmoush captain, Isak, and Solanke. So my bench boost was Solanke, Gordon, Byrne, and Martinez. And as you can see, the -2 from Byrne, 2 points for Martinez, Solanke hasn't yet played, and 1 pointer from Gordon. It's been a terrible, terrible bench boost. Gianni, is there any hope for this team going into the second round of fixtures?
Oh man, I mean, you've still got lots of points to pick up from your doublers, of course you have. But it's so far. I mean, the bench boost is bad. What you really need, mate, out of nowhere, you need on Monday night, you need a big Solanke return. He's 0.2% EO at your rank. And like no active manager owns Dom Solanke other than you. Imagine if he goes and banks a brace. Like that's a huge part of a green arrow there just from him. But yeah, disappointing for your Newcastle assets. Burn with the own goal was brutal. Like many own Livramento, who got a 0 point. Livramento's on my bench, but I've got a 0 from him. I sold Dan Burn this week, thank God. But yeah, and then Gordon coming on for the 1 pointer. Eze and Sarr disappointing. But Marmoush could go score some goals midweek. Solanke could get something on Monday night. And you've still got triple Arsenal for that Crystal Palace game. Now, I expect, and triple Palace, of course, I think Palace could rotate quite a bit, but I expect Arsenal to be close to full strength. And Saka, he goes off injured or with a knock quite a lot. There was ice. He had ice, an ice pack on, I saw on the bench. But if it was serious, he'd probably go straight down the tunnel. I imagine you still have a ton of doublers that will play in the week.
Yeah, relying on Dom Solanke to save my week is definitely not exciting. But we'll see how that goes. Again, maybe he will show a bit of confidence with that penalty midweek in Europe. Maybe we should touch on that, Gianni, before we carry on with my team. What you think of the Europa League teams? Who has the best chance? United, Spurs, Bilbao, and Ghent. Who do you think is going to win it?
I mean, Ghent are a weird proposition because they've knocked Lazio out, and last year they knocked Roma out. Like Mourinho's Roma that was doing all right and had obviously won a European trophy the season before. So, of course, I expect Spurs to win, but clearly there's no easy games at this point of any European competition when you're through to the semis. I expect Spurs will do it. I don't fancy Man United versus Bilbao. I'm not going to lie. Like, they're a good team, and United, they just look so frail. I mean, yes, it was scenes there at Old Trafford with Maguire's late winner and fair play, like they went and beat Lyon at the death, but Lyon aren't brilliant, and Lyon were down to 10. Like I don't think Man United win a European trophy. I think Spurs could. So it's going to be really interesting, and it has a knock-on effect for the double game weeks as well, around 36. Obviously, Aston Villa are out of Europe now as well, and that's big. Like we saw Villa drop out of Europe, but then go get a massive win over Newcastle in the Premier League, and that race for the top five, you'd have to say, like Chelsea winning today is massive. Newcastle losing, City need to keep winning games, and now City play Villa, and they're the two favourites for the spot. But again, pressure's also now on Nottingham Forest. So those 5 teams with 3 spots up for grabs, they're good FPL teams because they've got something massive to play for. Forest, Man City, Villa, Chelsea, and Newcastle. Only 3 of them will get Champions League, and they're all going to be close to full strength. Like, I wonder, does De Bruyne now start on Tuesday, given the fact that Villa have just beaten Newcastle? Can Pep afford to rest him? I'm not sure. If he's fit enough, I think we might get another start for De Bruyne, which should make you transferring him in and me transferring him in on a hit, by the way. Like, that'd be lovely if we get another 70 minutes plus from De Bruyne.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to get onto with how the knock-on effect does affect Villa and City. It's actually quite interesting. I do expect De Bruyne to probably start this next game. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say I fancy our chances even against the likes of a Ghent because we struggle against Southampton in the league, like Wolves. Like we're currently sitting 16th now, so I can't say there's much hope, but again, there's some part of me that is excited for sure being in a semi-final. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited. Okay, Gianni, going back to my team. Sorry for getting sidetracked. Anthony Gordon has been an absolute stinker of a decision for myself. I could have went with anyone else like Harvey Barnes or Jacob Murphy, but it has just not worked out for me.
Oh man, I like the fact you thought differently with him, and the outcome's bad, and the decision maybe wasn't the best. But it's unlucky for me because you're dealing with the hardest manager in the league to read from press conferences. He just doesn't give anything away. In fact, he often misleads, and that's Eddie Howe. And at the time when you bought Anthony Gordon, you believed he was really close to a first team return. We'd heard from how he was in training. When you bought him, I thought he'll probably get a cameo off the bench and then start game 2 of you buying him. I think it's now 3 games you've owned him, and he's not had a start. And again, he's not a banker to even start in game week 34. I guess you're on free hits, so it doesn't matter. But the way Jacob Murphy and Barnes have played as well, it's really difficult now dropping them. So yeah, Gordon's been a shocker for you. But if you were dealing with any other manager in the league, and you had heard that a first choice attacker like Gordon was nearing fitness, you would expect them to start. Not Eddie Howe, because actually Gordon wasn't ready. Eddie Howe just alluded to the fact he was, which is so annoying.
Yeah, exactly that. And Harvey Barnes has just been so good as well. So it's been an absolute woeful pick, to be honest. And I just wanted to touch on something, Gianni, which is the bench boost in general. I heard someone make a really good point about it, and I wanted to know what you thought. But we spend so much of our season planning around the bench boost, when we're going to use it. And there's less doubles. Is it overrated? And should we try to get it out of the way in the first game week next season?
No, first game week is a myth. That's a load of rubbish. Like, first game week always comes with massive, like, there's always big names that don't play game week 1 that you're like, oh, I didn't realise that Ben Johnson wasn't first choice right back for Ipswich, because pre-season he's played every game. Like, Ben Johnson's a prime example, right? Like, I had Ben Johnson in my game week 1 team because he was the right back. Every Ipswich fan told us he was going to be the right back, blah, blah, blah. Didn't play game week 1. We all had Kwanzaa. Well, Kwanzaa got hooked at halftime, and then we figured out he wasn't first choice, and it was Kanate. So game week 1 always comes with a few big, like, out of nowhere, oh, they're not a starter. We don't quite know, because it's that pre-season is pre-season. But to the first part of your question, mate, it's the worst chip by a country mile. Most of us are using it on 4 single game weekers anyway. Like I've said to you for the last couple of weeks, I don't see the need to have to play bench boost in a double unless you think you're going to get 2 or 3 or 4 doublers. But most teams I'm seeing have only got 1 doubler out of the 4 anyway. If it's better to play it on a game week 35 because you've got 4 single game weekers with better fixtures, then do that or build to it. So I've never planned the bench boost. I'm loosely thinking I'll do 35 or 36. That's because the clock's ticking. But yeah, when it works for your team to bench boost because you have a good bench, just do it, and don't beeline towards doubles, because doubles are better saved for other chips. And most of the time, even on the big double game weeks like this week, how many bench boosts have you seen this week with 3 or 4 doublers? No, they've all got 1 doubler. And it's like, well, may as well play it in a single game week then.
Yeah, it's really gone to how the fixtures kind of played out this season as well. We knew going into the season there would be less doubles, so that definitely didn't help the bench boost chip. I think it's only really effective when you can have those 8 extra fixtures on the bench, or 4 extra fixtures on the bench. Sorry. A good point from, where are we? Someone asked about Trossard. Thoughts on Trossard getting a second start? I went for him as a Saka differential on wildcard 30. What do you think? Now, I was one that also brought in Trossard a few weeks ago, and he didn't do so well for me in his time in my own team, but I do think Trossard is a good pick. He's definitely not a bad one. It's probably too late now going into game week 34, Gianni. What do you think?
I think there's a good chance he gets the nod again off the back of the brace, because he can play number 9 like he did today, or he could play on the left-hand side and he could give Martinelli a rest. Martinelli obviously played in Spain and then played again today. Does Martinelli need a rest? Maybe. It comes down to does Arteta believe Moreno is his number 9 or not? Like, Moreno played in a midfield 3 with Rice and Odegaard today, and it looked quite good. And those 3 haven't actually played much together in the middle of the park, because the 3, Odegaard, Rice, Moreno. If he's going into the PSG game seeing Moreno as a number 9, sure. Trossard probably doesn't start a number 9 on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever the fixture is. If he goes into the PSG game thinking actually he might want Moreno in the middle of the park alongside Rice and Odegaard, knowing the PSG midfield with Vitinha in there, Fabian Ruiz in there, like a world-class midfield 3 at PSG, it could mean Trossard actually does play number 9 in the champs. And if that's the case, Trossard probably gets the Tuesday, Wednesday game against Palace as the number 9 because he's got to build up to that. So it's really interesting to see what he'll do against PSG. I mean, I'd probably default to go, no, Partey comes in or Jorginho or whoever comes in and he plays Merino up top. But I think his plans for PSG will really make a difference. His selection against Palace will be based on what his plans for PSG because he's got 5-6 days off after Palace. And then it's PSG straight away. Remember, Arsenal don't play in 34. And I think he's going to want a very similar team to then build momentum going into PSG.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, Jenny. It's just so annoying, Trossard doing well now after a few weeks as soon as I get rid of him. It's just so typical.
When you brought him in, I remember thinking, oh, that is a proper chai pun. And he just didn't deliver, did he? And then sod's law, like not long after you take him out, big points. But today's match, obviously Martinelli, Trossard getting some points, Odegaard points as well, like Ranieri got a goal late. But we need to probably discuss, like Saka could have, on another day, he only got 1 pointer in the end. On another day, he's on a 15-pointer. Like Saka missed a couple of big chances, could have had a couple of assists. Like if you went Saka captain, you've been royally mugged off, haven't you?
Oh no, for sure. You definitely feel disappointed.
Were you close on that?
No,
Were you
I
close?
wasn't close. I didn't think
no,
about it twice.
Nor me really. I was Marmoush all week, but
yeah, I just felt like Marmoush was way more likely to get 2 starts. Again, he did start, and Saka probably should have got more points out of that game. You can be disappointed as a captain there, but I'm definitely still happy with Marmoush, like you spoke about.
How do you feel about that for game 2? What do you expect from Marmoush, and what did you make of City in general? Obviously, you and I both have that attacking double up of De Bruyne and Marmoush.
Yeah, Marmoush was good. He picked up some good numbers as well. As long as he starts, that would be the main thing. I wouldn't be too worried. City do look decent in attack, to be honest. They look decent in general, I would say. And like you said, they are fighting for those Champions League spaces now. Yeah, I think I'm excited. When I look at the EO for both of them, 143% for Marmoush. Of course, I got him captaincy. De Bruyne, 23%, and Diaz, 5.7%. I just need City to do well to kind of claw back a bit of a green for this week, as long as Mo Salah doesn't do anything too crazy, Gianni.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of managers with the armband on Mo Salah, as you would expect, because there's a lot of set and forget teams at our ranks. And Mo Salah, I don't know about your rank, but mine is 109% EO. Like, I need a Mo Salah blank, and that's unlikely. So yeah, Salah could kill us. But then what we really need is, I think De Bruyne is a huge talking point this week. For those that punted him in, does De Bruyne get that start versus Aston Villa? I think because of Aston Villa's performance yesterday, Pep's going to be a bit wary and therefore probably chuck him in. And it is worth noting the semi-final for Man City is Sunday. So they've got an extra day recovery, and let's say Crystal Palace, who played the Saturday. So it's Tuesday, Sunday for Man City. Like, that should be fine for De Bruyne to play both. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I agree. For sure. He should start that game. I'd actually be surprised if he doesn't now, when you say it like that. We're just halfway through the stream, Johnny. Of course, we need to start looking forward to Gameweek 34, where I do have my free hit active.
Yeah, I want to see this. Have you put together your first draft then?
It's the first draft, and it very much is the first draft. I've not given too much thought. Again, this team does have a small bit of money. I'm not sure how much in the bank, and the bench is just fodder players for the time being, so I could fit in everyone I wanted to. Let me quickly run through it. I've got Leno and Robinson as my 2 Fulham assets versus Southampton. I've got Cucurella in there, who is a bit different from what I've seen from other drafts, because I did watch 2 or 3 drafts on YouTube this morning to see what other people are doing. I've got 8 Ori with Leicester at home. I've got 5 in the middle. I've got Salah and Diaz versus Tottenham, which as a fan I won't love, but it's not in the Europa League, so I don't care. Mbeumo, Bruno and Palmer in the middle, Kuna and Isak up top, with the captaincy currently on Isak. We've got a lot of penalty takers in this team, which I assume will be quite popular going into this week, those that are on free hit. I really like this team, Gianni. Tell me what you changed first off, I suppose, rather than tell me if you like it or not.
Oh, I mean, there's lots I like. Isak will be the popular captaincy option. Cunha started today, got points. You'd expect Cunha to be a bit of a popular asset versus Leicester. is worth noting, I think there was a big injury at Wolves. I think it was Bogard that missed out, and then Cunha came in because Cunha hasn't been getting the starts because the manager knows he's off. But Cunha versus Leicester is actually an interesting captaincy option as well. I don't know. I mean, you've got money to spend, so I understand why you've gone Bruno and Palmer. But the way Chelsea are playing and Palmer's playing, I don't know if I'd even go Palmer. And Luis Diaz, again, let's see how Liverpool's set up. Luis Diaz is always one of those you go, should start, but there's no guarantee he starts. Could he come off the bench for a cameo? I guess the punt I dislike the most is Bruno, just because a Man United, they're just prioritising Europe, aren't they? So badly. But Bruno does have a game there before Europe, so you'd think he starts given the rest this week. But I expect Bournemouth to win that football match, just like I expected Wolves to beat United today. But yeah, I like the back line. Robinson, Ait-Nouri. If I was on free hit, I'd have them. And Mbeumo, I'd have Salah, I'd have Cunha and Isak. So yeah, it's a lot of very similar picks. I don't know about the Chelsea assets, and I don't know about Diaz and Bruno.
So, okay, speaking to me about Bruno, okay, let's just say, assuming he got 90 minutes, I know we can't do that with Europe, but would you prefer Kluivert in that position at home to United in comparison to
Probably, and Kluivert back fit started yesterday. I think Man United are a team we can target. I genuinely, with my sleeper predictions, I had Wolves to win today. I expected Wolves to win. So yeah, I think I'd be skeptical going Bruno, but I understand, of course, if Man United do get points and goals and assists, it's Bruno. He is the points machine there, and he's not a bad pick. I guess I probably prefer Bruno to Diaz and the Chelsea picks. I don't know. I understand why you've gone Diaz. I tell you what, Bradley would be a tempter for Liverpool.
Tripling up on Liverpool. I really do think this... No, you're right, though. This score could be anything. It always is a good game when we play Liverpool, and they always beat us at Anfield. I always say it. So you're saying that you'd prefer Bruno to Diaz and Palmer?
I think so. I must admit, I'm putting a free hit draft together tonight, and I don't think Bruno, Palmer, or Diaz will be in it. But then again, I'm looking at the midfielders going, okay, who are you going to pick, Gianni? It's easy saying I don't like that pick, but then, okay, who's better? Is Kluivert better? And you like penalty takers, so I understand why Kluivert and Bruno and Palmer have been mentioned, but there's very good non-penalty taking options in there as well. I look at Liverpool and I go, if Jota starts number 9 versus Spurs, a 7.5 million midfielder, I'd want Jota in. Doesn't take penalties, gets early subs, but he's still number 9 versus number 9 versus a very leaky Spurs. I'd probably want another Newcastle attacker. Newcastle have Ipswich, so I'd probably run a Newcastle triple up. And I hate to say it, mate, but Jacob Murphy's killed you and I in recent weeks, but Jacob Murphy or Harvey Barnes versus Ipswich could be fun. Jared Bowen versus Brighton, maybe. You thought about Bowen?
Yeah, no. So I did have obviously when you change your team for a free hit, you keep your original team from the week prior, and I had Gordon in that spot, and I was looking at it, I was like, that looks so good, but he's just not going to play. And I was like, what if this is the week where Gordon does play ahead of a Harvey Barnes? I'd be raging. So that's why I just actually took both of them out and defaulted to a Luis Diaz. I do like what you said about Jota. Jota was in this team before Diaz, but again, I'm just unsure whether or not he's going to start, whereas I'd be more confident in Diaz starting from my own perspective. I do think it is probably missing the Nick Pope or Livramento, Dan Burn.
Dan Burn owes you, mate.
He does. All these players. Gordon knows me too, so maybe it's a sign to just run my Gameweek 33 team.
Yeah, I reckon. Do you know what? I'd probably go for a Newcastle defender over Cucurella as well. I have trust issues with Chelsea, but maybe that's a bit of a fan thing. I understand why Palmer's obviously on his day been brilliant, but recently, God, he's been off it. And even today, you look at Chelsea to go, who's going to get you a winner? And you expect to see when Chelsea score late, a Palmer goal or an assist, but it's not the case. And it's Enzo's the guy standing up in the middle of the park for Chelsea. Palmer did play 90, and Maresca was annoyed. Of course he was with the team. they're losing to Fulham, and Madueke and Nico Jackson get hooked, and Sancho and George come on, and yeah, George gets points, but I don't know, man. Palmer's an interesting one because we see Palmer at that price point, and if you've got budget and you know he's on pens and you know what he's done this season, but when you look at recent performances, God, he's been bad for his standards.
Yeah, so unusual. Just going to the chat, Johnny. Derek says no Danny Welbeck. Tony B says a Wobie question mark exclamation mark. I do think this Everton game will be cagey. That's why I put Cucurella in there. Because I always feel like, in these type of cagey games, especially with how Everton are playing, I can see a clean sheet. I don't know why. I could be completely wrong about it.
No, to be fair, Everton don't score many, do they? Like they don't threaten that much. It's a set piece threat, but even against City yesterday, I know they hit the post and they clocked around 0.9 XG, I think, but over half that was from set pieces. To be fair, set pieces, I don't think Chelsea are the strongest. So maybe Everton will get a little bit of joy from set pieces, but it is the early kickoff, and I understand why you'd go for a Chelsea defender. And Cucurella does offer you some upside. Like he often inverts from left back, pushes into the midfield. Not a bad pick. What about Danny Welbeck? Brighton play West Ham. And Welbeck, we now know, is guaranteed to start. I mean, you expect him to start regardless, but João Pedro got a straight red yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. It was like an elbow. So Welbeck now is suspended till 19th of May, which is what, game week 37. So we've got 3 guaranteed games of Welbeck. And if you're on free hit or not, that is West Ham, Newcastle, Wolves, for those maybe interested in a budget forward.
I do like the idea of Welbeck for sure. I just don't know if I prefer him to Luis Diaz with Tottenham at home. Because I think Bruno, Palmer, Mbeumo, Salah, they're kind of nailed for me. Jeff makes a good point. Welbeck also on pens with no João Pedro. Yeah, that is a good
Is that
point.
a given? I guess it is.
I think so,
Is there any other? Because I remember we've always known João Pedro in the same team as, say, a Pascal Gross. Since Gross left, is it Welbeck for sure? Have we got evidence of no João Pedro on the pitch, Welbeck taking pens? I guess we have, and I would also assume it is Welbeck without knowing that. But is it an absolute given? Someone in the chat, maybe a Brighton fan, can let us know. Like, does that definitely happen that Welbeck's on pens when João Pedro's not on?
Welbeck over Palmer, says Derek. I don't know if I can do that, man. Like, as poor as Palmer has been in a single game week, where he's not coming back to form, but he's at least getting minutes. I'd still back Palmer over Welbeck, personally.
What about Diogo Jota over Luis Diaz? Can I convince you? That's the one I like Jota over Diaz, I think. But again, we can watch Liverpool today and judge, can't we? Like, again, you'll react to what you see today, no doubt, for Liverpool. I think the team news for that one should be out. I'm just going to look at the lineups. And it's actually Gakpo, number 9.
Yeah.
Not Jota.
I saw that.
Well, actually, no. BBC have it Gakpo 9, Diaz left. I bet it's Diaz 9, Gakpo left. What do you reckon?
I actually don't know. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because if it's Diaz number 9,
I just have Jota doing well against Spurs as well in my mind. He was in here before Diaz. I just feel like Diaz is probably a bit safer. If I knew both of them are gonna start, I would easily go Jota. We know how good he can be. I always feel like Jota does come up around these game weeks. Usually we have doubles in game week 30ish. Like last season we seen he got injured. But when he's fit, he's just lethal. So if I do get information that he's going to be fit or there's a good chance he's starting, I would say I'd likely go Jota over Diaz. Other than that, I don't think much in this team. Maybe Pope will come in for Leno and I'll just keep the single Fulham asset. But I just feel like Southampton have been not the greatest, even though they can score the odd goal. They have done the last few weeks of scoring 1 goal. So maybe it's something to look at, getting rid of Leno.
Mate, I wonder if it'll be interesting. Loads will be watching and listening to this after Liverpool, but let's say there's a Liverpool attacker not named Mo Salah that has a stormer and gets a brace. Whether that's Diaz, Jota off the bench, or it could be Cody Gakpo. Cody Gakpo gets a brace, he'll be a bit of a bandwagon. I wouldn't rule Gakpo out.
We're bringing back Gakpo out.
My boy Cody. I mean, I do think it will be Gakpo left, Diaz central, but let's see. I'm no Liverpool expert, but I do study lineups, and earlier in the season it was as number 9 a lot when Gakpo was wide left, when Jota was out. I say earlier in the season a few months ago. So keep your eye on that.
Yeah, Plaz says, what about Sessegnon, who is playing on the wing for Fulham, I believe? The only thing is, what's his name is back, isn't he? Oh, what's his name?
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm fairly sure someone is back from injury. I just can't remember his name.
Oh, okay. Has Adama been playing? Smith Rowe was out today. Adama got 6 minutes today. He did come on. Wilson, are you thinking of Wilson? He's back, I think.
Yeah, it might be Wilson. I don't know if I'd go Sessegnon again from his Spurs time. I can't do that to myself. That would be pain.
Mate, Sessegnon is a 4.1 million defender, and I must admit, on wildcard, he's someone that could be in my first draft. He does get early subs, but he has been starting. He's had 78, 56, 81 in the last 3, and he had a 9-pointer today against Chelsea. Like, he obviously got the assist, but he clocked really good underlying numbers today against Chelsea, to the point where he clocked 39 BPS, like pretty damn high.
You are not trying to sell me Ryan Sessegnon, Johnny.
you don't need to.
Surely just go Robinson, no?
Money's not an issue for you, I guess, and you're always going to go Robinson over Sessegnon. Although, even with the position, because Sessegnon's not guaranteed to start. But if you're on wildcard and you're looking for a fifth defender, like me.
No, that is fair. I can see that, especially if he's going to sit on the bench most weeks. I'd like to hope anyway. Yeah. So what about Brian Mbeumo then? Because we did touch on how it is a tough fixture for him. Again, he is on some decent form. Is there any world where you'd have him not in a draft, even though it's Forest, and maybe have a Chris Wood?
Do you know what, Brentford are bad defensively. It's perfectly legitimate to go for a Chris Wood, because Brentford will always concede big chances. They're always. But one thing Brentford always do is produce big chances. They're always top of the charts for them. And when you've got clinical finishers like Visser and Mbeumo, who are both elite finishers, the reason they're perfect for the Brentford system is Brentford will always irk out big chances, and Mbeumo and Visser tuck them away. So on wildcard, for me, I've got Visser and Mbeumo as locks in my team. But that's not necessarily because I think their 34 fixture is great, because it's not. But I'm backing Brentford in 34 and beyond, and I think I would still go with Mbeumo over Wood.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Interesting point from Twisted Sparky. It says, is this a free hit team? Looks quite dull, no differentials. It's actually quite interesting, that point, because I feel like majority are going to have a very similar team this week. And the reason for that is just how the fixtures have been relayed again. You know, Fulham playing Southampton, Wolves playing Leicester. I think you'd be silly almost not to put them in. And then, of course, you're going to have a lot of the big boys when you have those defenders, and it makes it quite easy. Like, if we had to rely on the Arsenal assets on a free hit, you wouldn't have the money to stretch to, like, a Palmer or a Salah. So I feel like the team almost kind of makes itself in some of the positions. Again, Isaac playing Ipswich. I'll definitely look on how I can mix it up. You know, I love a differential, but I won't be doing it just for the sake of it. Again, I'm trying to pick the best team.
I reckon I'd stack up on a couple of teams, though. I do wonder with Wolves, for example. Do you look at Aït-Nouri and go, yeah, he's a good pick, but Leicester can't score for love nor money. Let's go Semedo and Aït-Nouri, and Cunha, like triple Wolves. Can you go bigger on Fulham if you want to target Southampton? I mean, today, I don't know if you saw, Meniz didn't start for Fulham. Wasn't in the squad today, I don't think, Meniz. So does that mean Raul Jimenez is nailed? I mean, we need to see Menez's fitness next week. But if, for example, I was to tell you that Raul Jimenez was to guarantee 75 minutes plus, he got 83 minutes today. He does always get early subbed, even without Menez, it looks. But let's say Raul Jimenez was able to guarantee you 75 plus minutes versus Southampton. Would Raul Jimenez be a tempter?
Again, I just feel like I'd go Wood, who has penalties over Raul Jimenez. Personally,
you love pens.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, especially on free hit, like, I'm always picking the pen takers. If you're telling me I have an option on a given game week pick a team, I'm always gonna pick the penalty takers. It's just like I think we've seen it even when Palmer's on bad form. He comes up with 2 penalties and suddenly he's on for a monster haul. Same with Salah, who does get a lot of pens. So I think it's quite reasonable, especially when they have decent fixtures.
No, it certainly is. I hate the penalty rule because it makes it a little bit boring when we're discussing even picks.
I agree. It needs to be
so easy picking penalty takers. But you're right. Over a course of a season, a penalty taker might get 5 extra goals from penalties, or even more, but the average is probably more like 3. But it's 3 more opportunities for 4 or 5 points plus bonus guaranteed. Like if you're Chris Wood, his penalties aren't 4 points, that's 6 or 7, because when Chris Wood scores, he gets 3 bonus pretty much most of the time. So yeah, I hear you, mate. I play Serie A fantasy as well, and you get a point lower, a lesser point, a lower. You get a point less for your penalty. So instead of 5 points, you get 4, for example. Like I like that rule very much. I think that would slightly change our picks if a penalty goal wasn't quite worth the same. What does everyone in the chat think to that?
Yeah,
Let
I
us
agree
know.
with that.
By the
I
way,
wish
if you enjoy the
penalties
show,
weren't so
hit the like
influential.
button.
Yeah, do hit that like button for us. Sorry, Gianni, for speaking over it.
No.
But that penalty rule, like, I think that should be a thing. Especially players who are quite good for bonus anyway, like Palmer when he's good. Salah, like Salah can have the worst game ever, get a penalty, and he gets on for bonus. Like it's a small bit ridiculous, and it makes it quite hard to do stuff a bit differently. And that's a great example, like Chris Wood versus Raul Jimenez. Like I would prefer Raul Jimenez for the fixture, but it's just the fact Chris Wood does have penalties. Like it would put me off. But yeah, a lot of people, I assume, on free hit this week, do let us know in the comments or in chat if you are on it. I'm interested to see if you have any differential picks, because right now I don't think my team is acting too crazy, but I think going into the game week, I would say 8 out of 11 are almost confirmed. I think maybe 2 out of the back line could change, and 1 of Diaz or Bruno could make a switch, but other than that I think it is fairly nailed.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that defense is the harder one to pick. I reckon I'd stack on defense and go double Wolves. Wolves have been really good under the new manager, and Leicester can't score. Give the pen goal as an assist as well, says Frode. I like that. Like, yeah. Just back on the penalty thing. When I remember as a kid, I don't want to keep going back to Serie A, but even watching like Serie A like coverage in England, when they used to show the Golden Boot race, they would show the non-penalty goals. So it was like, as a forward, if you're a forward that didn't take pens, you're being compared to other forwards for open play goals. And I do quite like that on non-penalty goals. Like when you see Salah's numbers or Bruno's numbers, it's really difficult comparing them with, say, a Luis Diaz, because you go, oh, if Luis Diaz had 5 penalties a season, his numbers would look way better. I'm not saying he'd ever be as good as Bruno or Salah, but you get my point. And I just think it's really interesting to compare players like for like, and penalties give you such a boost with your stats. And especially if we're talking forwards that don't take penalties, same again. So yeah, just an interesting observation, I think. Let us know what your take is in the chat.
Yeah, no, when you've made that point, the first thing that came into my mind when you're speaking about forwards that don't take penalties was Luis Suarez. Like that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, imagine his numbers. They'd be insane, wouldn't they? And even other attackers, like let's look at peak Heung-min Son when he was playing with Harry Kane. I bet Son and Salah's numbers for some seasons wouldn't look that different if you gave Son an additional 6 penalties that Salah gets every year. You know?
And it's a confidence thing knowing that he scored. Like, yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, maybe we should just scrap penalties for FPL. Imagine. Hopefully,
yeah. With your team, I just want to come back to it. Are you pretty set on captaincy? Because we haven't got long left, and we got to talk captaincy. Do you think you'll go Isak, or are there other players that are tempting you? Like Salah will be a popular choice still, won't he, against Spurs?
Yeah, he is going to be the most popular, I think. Do you think? I think Salah will be more popular than Isak this week. I think by virtue of EO, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's just hit the woodwork, Mo Salah.
Brilliant.
3 minutes in.
Yeah, no, I do think Isak is fairly locked for me. I don't know though. Like Spurs.
I tell you what, I think because I'm on wildcard, I'm not sure Isak's going to be in my team. If Isak's not in my actual wildcard team, obviously I can't captain him. But one player that will be in my team is Salah, and I do like Operation Target Spurs. What's the timing of the game for your semi-final? I guess it's quite good for Spurs, is it? You play Sunday against Liverpool. Is that going to be a massive distraction? The Europa game for Spurs. I mean, that will be Thursday night. I'm just looking. You're at home. So Sunday, Thursday is fine, knowing it's a home game for turnaround, but it's still a massive distraction, isn't it, for Spurs? Like you're obviously prioritising Europe, but do you reckon you'll still go full strength versus Liverpool, right?
Yeah, I've just brought up the fixtures. I actually don't think we'll go full strength. I could see one of Romero slash Van de Ven being rested for that game. Again, I could be completely wrong about that. Um, I don't know. I think regardless, Liverpool are going to smash us. To be honest, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that fills you with much more confidence because I do feel like it is inevitable that Liverpool run through us regardless of who we start.
Yeah. I mean, Newcastle at home are a pretty safe bet as well. Isak's flying. Ipswich are dead and buried. So there's still a lot of reason to go Isak. It's just Salah is obviously Mo Salah and Spurs. Yes, they're not Ipswich, but they're not far off defensively. You know, there's not much split in them when you look just defensive numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we'll end it there, Johnny. We're just after hitting the 40-minute mark. Thank you all for tuning in on another Sunday stream. Do Johnny and I a favour and hit that like button and comment on the video. Let us know if you're on free hit and who your best differentials are for the week. As usual, we appreciate you all. And Johnny, any last words?
No, man, that's all good. I look forward to seeing your team. No doubt it'll be spicy, probably spicier than the team on screen as well, I reckon. So, yeah, man, good luck and looking forward to chatting next week.
Bye bye.